Right guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be reviewing the new G430 from PING. Now it's taken me a little bit longer to get this video out purely because I'm trying to go a bit more in depth with the reviews now. So what I'm trying to make sure of is I give this a thorough test. Previously I've just given it 10 minutes, hit 5-6 balls with it, showed you the numbers, giving you a quick overview. This time around, however, I've had the PING G430 for a couple of days, so I've hit shots with it indoors on the GC quad getting numbers, but I've also been having it out on the golf course. So I took it up to Chippenham Golf Club where I was filming some content with some other creators. That might be out, I'm not sure, but I took it out on the golf course, played 18 holes with it, so was able to kind of give it a thorough test within actual real data, real flight data. So initial impressions with this club, I was impressed. I preferred the look of it to the old ones, the G425. Thought it looked a little bit mean. I preferred the bit of yellow, the colouring. I preferred also the top of the crown. It's got the standard PING sort of dragonfly, as they call it, technology on the top, the sort of fangs that you see. But I quite like the little, almost dimples, if you like, dimple pattern that they've done on the two edges. It just gets the face looking a little bit meaner, as I say, and maybe sits that little bit better behind the golf ball. Now, we'll talk very quickly here about some technology. Like every other manufacturer, they go a little bit overboard with what they're doing in terms of the technology. So things that they've put in this driver, they've got an optimized T9S forged face, which is basically saying it's a variable thickness face, which is thinner, which basically is saying it's a better trampoline effect, so generating more ball speed off the club head to gain distance. We'll see if that's the reality with the numbers. They've also got a sound engineering change, so a new internal rib structure and increased curvature of the crown, skirt and sole fine-tunes club head frequencies to produce a desirable sound. Now, that's something that's interesting. So the sound of this driver is so much better than the G425. Anyone who's hit the G425, it's a good driver. For me personally, the sound, terrible. I do not like it. It's so tinny, so loud. And to be honest, last year, that completely put me off even wanting to put it in the bag, regardless of if the numbers were good, because the sound was just awful and I hated it. So I was really hoping that the G430 would be different, and thankfully it is. Much duller sound, way better. Yeah, I can actually think about playing golf with this and putting it in the bag, seriously, just because of that noise. So that change in the sound, I'm sure they probably had a bit of feedback from other players, potentially the tour players using it, and probably went for a slightly different sound profile this year, which is great, much better than the old one. The main thing that I've seen regarding this driver is this spin consistency that they've put in. Again, I'll read you the blurb. Contributing to the added ball speed is a variable roll radius that improves performance across the T9S and forged face by reducing spin, resulting in faster speeds that generate consistently longer drives. So again, just a bit of blurb to try and say that it's much better. Again, we'll have a look at the numbers that I found and what I saw on the golf course relating to if the spin is actually down or not. They seem to have the same weight ports on the back like they did the old driver. So a little tungsten weight right in the back. You can move it ever so slightly towards the toe and ever so slightly towards the heel. The only problem I've always seen with this track is that you just can't move it very much, which for me means nothing's really going to change that much, in the sense of if you're someone who's maybe struggling with a bit of a overdraw, yes, you can put it in the fade port towards the toe, but in reality, it's not going to make that big a difference. So again, maybe test that more. I haven't done, but certainly when I've fitted with this club, I haven't really seen that ever make much of a difference changing someone's ball flight. So that's the general consensus of what this club is doing, what the differences are between that and the G425. I've got the max head here. There is also an LST version, so a lower spinning head, and then they've got the SFT, which is a very standard PING thing they've always done, works well, which is straight flight technology, basically pushing the weight more into the heel side, more draw bias for someone who's maybe struggling with a bit of a fade slash slice. So as I said, I took this golf club out on the golf course, gave it a little test, and I was impressed with it. The main thing for me definitely is that sound that I said. The sound is way better, which just made me feel better about the golf club generally. I liked the flight of it. It seemed like a very strong flight on the golf course. And I'll tell you what, it was unbelievably straight. Whether I was swinging it well on that particular day, but that golf club, for me, I was hitting the vast majority of fairways, and when I did miss, I found that the miss was never bad at all. I might just be hitting it slightly in the rough, slightly left rough, slightly right rough, but it was never a big miss at all. And even when I was miss-hitting, so I hit a few low kind of heely strikes, which you're gonna see normally really spin up and fall off to the right, it wasn't really doing that. It was still hitting the fairway, and I was really impressed with the forgiveness of this club. I felt like I could just keep hitting it, and I could hit it as hard as I wanted. It wasn't really going to go very far offline. So on the golf course, I was very impressed with this driver. Now, in terms of the data, you should hopefully see the data on the screen here. I went into the simulator here at Hale Golf and I hit some balls on the GC Quad to get the numbers, and we'll list the numbers here that I had. So I averaged 171 mile an hour of ball speed, which is exactly where I want it to be. This is me hitting like stock shots, trying to hit fairway. If I can be around the 170, that's pretty good for me. I'd like to be up the 175s, but that's me having to hit a little bit harder. Average spin of 2,400. Now this is a little bit high for me. Again, I've got this in 9 degrees, got an extra stiff shaft. I'd like to see this more around 2,000, 2,100. So 2,004 is a little bit high for me, 2,400. Potentially if I use the LS, I would drop that spin a little bit. I haven't tested that club, but certainly I would want to drop that spin down if I was to put this in the bag full time. Average carry of 295, really strong. I'd like to be around the 300 yards, but again, that was just purely from the backspin. With a 316 yard total distance, average clubhead speed of about 120, which again for me is exactly where I'd like this to sit. So the numbers on quad, really strong. I really enjoyed using it on the golf course, much preferred the sound to the G425. So overall, this is a strong driver. I really like it. Now, what we're gonna do, I'm gonna review most of the drivers here, at least the big 3 on the channel, because I've got use of it. Thankfully here at Hale Golf we do custom fit for new clubs. So I'm going to give this a rating, and we're going to give it a rating out of 5. So I'm going to give this driver, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5, which for me is strong. I really like the look, I like the sound, it performs well, very forgiving. I'd say it's not the longest driver. I think that I'm going to be testing the Stealth and the Callaway. I would expect them, from what I've seen last year, I would expect them to be longer. So the carry for me with the Ping, average of 295, I reckon I'd like to see myself flying over 300 yards. With my clubhead speed, I can certainly do that. I think if I can drop the spin, which the Stealth 2 and the Paradigm, I believe, might be able to do that, I feel like they'll be a bit better. However, 4 out of 5, very good driver, highly recommend. Go out and test it if you fancy it. Get fitted if you're fancying it. Don't buy it off the shelf. But yeah, Ping have done well. I think certainly they've upgraded from last year's driver. So thank you very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, comment what you think of this driver and if you think that it's a better driver than the previous model. And yeah, make sure you subscribe, keep up to date with all the content coming up. Loads more this year. It's a different year of YouTube for me, much more time and effort put in. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.